Hey guys, it's been a minute since I made my Fujin variation moves tier list, and on that video, I was actually asked to make a rain variation moves tier list the same way that I made the Fujin one. Now, I kind of put it off for a little bit, mostly because I didn't really feel comfortable with all of Rain's moves to really judge them and kind of pick out where I thought each one of them would lay on the tier list. However, over the last couple months, I have been putting a lot of work with Rain, trying to get him to be one of my better characters, and I do believe at this point, he's probably one of my top 3 or 4 best characters that I play right now. So, we're going to go through, I made a tier list here, I'm going to pull that up. We're going to go through each move, and I'm going to kind of do basically what I did with the Fujin tier list, but we're going to go through each move. We're going to rate them on where I think they would lie in a tier list and how good I think they are. We're going to go over some pros and cons, basically. So this video will be good if you are new to playing Rain and you don't really know what variation you should use. I think this character has a lot of creativity and a lot of interesting combinations you could use. And I hope this video helps you out. If it did, please leave a like. Let me know in the comments below if it helped you at all. And let me know if I should do this with any other characters. One of the benefits of Riptide is it's actually a restand. So if you end your combo with the move, you end up restanding the opponent so they can't use one of their wake up options. Let me just show a basic combo that ends with the Riptide real quick. See, so we end there. It's 26% damage. Rain is a character that doesn't get that much damage. Riptide is actually not a bad combo ender. He doesn't lose that much damage, and getting a restand is quite nice because, again, it stops the opponent from using one of their many wake up options. Also, Riptide is +4 on hit, so you can kind of use those plus frames a little bit if you hit it up close. If you hit it from farther away, it does kind of push him back a little bit, so you're not able to really use it from this range. But if you land it up close, you might be able to get away with some moves you wouldn't normally be able to get away with, simply because you're +4. Some issues I have with the move is on block. If you look at the frames, it is -18 on block, and it's also a high. So basically what I'm trying to say is you never want to use this in neutral. You gotta save it as a combo ender. I really wouldn't recommend throwing it out. Like, you could maybe catch someone off guard throwing it out at like this range, you know. No one really uses this move, so they're not gonna really be expecting it. But it's not very fast on start. It's 16 frame startup, -18 on block. It's a high. You can't amp it or anything. So if you throw this out just willy-nilly, you're gonna get punished for it. So I would not recommend using this outside of ending combos. For these reasons, I'm actually gonna go ahead and put Riptide in decent picks. I'm actually surprised. I thought it was going to be a lot lower on this tier list, but the fact that it's a restand, which nullifies a lot of the opponent's defensive options, I think it's actually not a bad move. The problem is there's a lot of other moves that you want to have in those spots, and I'll kind of go over those later in the tier list. So it's not a terrible move to have in the spot, but there are better moves, but there are also a lot worse moves, so we'll get into that. Since we're on this variation, the next move I want to go over is actually Water Ball. So with Water Ball, it is actually a pretty good combo tool. You can actually get some decent damage out of Rain with 1 bar of offensive meter with the Water Ball. And I'm going to show off like a basic Water Ball Rain combo real quick. So the timing on that can be tricky, but 31% for 1 bar with Rain is actually pretty good. Most of the time, if you don't have one of his other combo tools, you're using the kick, which is not a great combo tool. You end up getting roughly 25% damage per combo if you're using the kick, as opposed to Water Ball, where if you use 1 bar, you're getting 31%, which is not bad. Another thing about Water Ball is it's very easy to combo into. You can pretty much do any of the strings in a Water Ball, it's going to combo. So for example, you can do his optimal combo starter, which is going to combo into the Water Ball. You can do this in the Water Ball. You can do it low in the Water Ball. You can even do a jump kick in a Water Ball, I believe. Yeah. And this has 4 different versions, so you can do like, you can pull them in, you can throw them up, and you can bounce them off the ground. There's also one more version of Water Ball, which I'll go over in a minute. But basically what I'm trying to say is Water Ball is very easy to combo into, and it's also very easy to hit confirm as well. You have a decent amount of time after Water Ball hits to actually hit the amplify button. So I'll show real quick. I'm going to hit him with a Water Ball, and I'm going to amp immediately, and then I'm going to try to show what it looks like if you hit him with Water Ball and you kind of delay the amp. So that's like instant amp, right? I'm gonna delay it a little bit. See, look how long he was in the air. I'll do it again. So as you can see, you can kind of delay that quite a bit after hitting. Like, if you're not 100% sure that you're gonna hit, which honestly you might as well mash amp it honestly every time, because it won't amp on block anyway. But if you want to confirm that, right, you actually have a decent amount of time to amp it. And there might be situations where you don't have enough bar when it hits, but the bar passes just past the halfway mark where you get your half your meter back on the bottom there, and you might be able to get an amp in. So being able to delay that amp is actually a useful tool if you're like almost there on your meter there. And you might actually be able to get some combos off you wouldn't normally be able to. Now into the negatives, I think its biggest problem is that it replaces Rain's guitar toss. So Rain's guitar toss is a basic projectile where he throws this guitar that he's holding in his right hand. That projectile is actually really good. It's pretty fast. It's a high by base, but if you amp it, it turns into a mid projectile, and you can do this mid-flight too. So the fact that it replaces one of his best projectiles is an issue. Another problem is it's kind of on the slow end. If you look at it, it's 17 on startup, and through the air, I'll throw one full screen just to show. It doesn't really travel all that fast, especially when you compare it to the guitar toss. Another thing is it is only a high. You can't amp it like guitar toss and make it a mid, so the opponent can just duck this whenever, in reaction to you throwing it out. And then finally, probably my biggest issue with Water Ball is that it's actually a 2-slot move. So if you're putting Water Ball on, that's your combo starter, right? If you want to have a viable Water Ball variation, you need to have something else that can cover his pressure game. So you need to either have like Tidal Wave or a Hydroplane. You could throw Geyser Palm on, but at that point you're going max combo, and you don't really have a way to keep yourself safe when you're pressuring the opponent. I think having one of those tools to keep Rain safe on block is actually very important. So losing access to some of his other tools for Water Ball really does suck. For these reasons, I'm actually going to go ahead and put Water Ball in decent picks. I think it helps with one of Rain's biggest issues, which is his lack of damage. Being able to get at least 30% off every touch with Water Ball is very, very strong for Rain. I think he's generally a low damage character. Being able to hit above 30% for Rain is very, very good for him. And the only problem is, again, it's a 2-slot move, so you lose some variation, customize options. You have to really choose, do I want to be safe on block, or do I want to have even more combo potential? Alright, next we have Edenian Force. So what this allows Rain to do, it doesn't actually give him any new moves, but allows him to do 2 of his base moves from the air. So normally Rain can do this Argus Plunge move. It's pretty good. It's a good combo ender. It's also his armor break move. And he also can do this move, which is like a water morph move, which makes him completely invulnerable to everything except throws. It allows him to do both of these moves from the air. So he can do this in the air now, and he can jump up and do this water morph move from the air. Now, I think Edenian Force is actually quite good. It gives Rain a little bit of extra mobility by itself in the air. So like, if you're in the corner or something, you can jump up and get out of there with the Edenian Force. It travels quite far. And also, being able to like jump up and go into Water Morph can be useful in some situations where maybe you're caught in midair and you want to either like phase through a projectile or something like that. It might actually be useful in those situations. But I think the real strength of the Edenian Force comes when it's paired with one of his other moves. And that other move is actually Quantum Slice. So we're going to do both of these moves together. Quantum Slice is a pretty good move on the ground here. It does a decent amount of damage. It reaches pretty far. It is a high at base. You can amp it. Makes the second hit a mid. And I believe it's safe on block. Let me go ahead and double check. So yeah, -5 on block with pushback. And when you have Edenian Force equipped, you can do this move in the air. So you get the mobility of the Edenian Force, except you can also go diagonal. So you can go diagonal down if you're on the ground. And remember how I said you can amp it? You can also amp it. Not only can you amp it once, you can amp it as long as you have meter. So let me just show you real quick some of the shenanigans you can do with this move. You can jump up, you can amp it back and forth like that. You can jump up, go down, go up. You can amp it once, go back and forth and down. You can amp it, go down, then amp it again. Like this is such a crazy move. It gives Rain so much mobility. And again, if you hit them with the amp on block, it's -5 with pushback. No one's punishing that really. The only downside to having the Quantum Slice is that you do lose Argus Plunge. This replaces Argus Plunge, so you lose his Armor Breaker, which does suck. But I think it's well worth having the mobility and being able to just, be safe on block, especially from a jump in, You land like a jump kick, right? You can go down and amp it. And that's basically 20% off a jump kick for very little effort. And if they block it, you're safe for just spending an offense meter. So I think this is actually a pretty good combination of moves. Alright, so I'm going to put Edenian Force and Quantum Slice both in strong picks. I think alone, they're both really strong moves. I think together, they're even stronger. But we're not quite done with Quantum Slice yet. Rain actually has one more move related to the Quantum Slice, and that's this parry here. So this is a projectile parry. It will parry a single projectile, so let me just show all that off real quick with Robocop. My main issue with the parry is it only blocks one projectile, even amped. So if Robocop amps his low auto 9, which shoots multiple projectiles, I'm only going to be able to parry one of the projectiles, which I'll show off here. So as you can see, the first projectile gets absorbed by the parry, and the other two are able to slip past it. I'll even show it with the amp. So as you can see, the amp doesn't actually block any additional projectiles, which I think would have been better for the move. As it stands now, the amp, I believe, just lasts longer on the field. You can kind of throw it up, you can amp it, right? Unless you move around a little bit longer with it up. But I don't really think it's worth amping most of the time, because you're better off saving your meter for something else. Like, the length you get from amping the Rift, I don't think is worth the meter, to be honest. Now, the real nice stuff comes when you parry two projectiles from an opponent. You get access to a KB on the Quantum Slice. So let me just show that off real quick. Alright, so now we've parried two Robocop projectiles. Now we have access to a KB on the Quantum Slice. So I'm going to show just a very basic combo with Quantum Slice. Alright, so as you can see, that KB is very nice. It leads to some crazy damage. You can even do that KB off the airborne version, which I'll show real quick. And you can get a nice combo there too. The only problem really I have with the Rift is that if the opponent is a character that doesn't rely on projectiles or doesn't use projectiles, this is basically a wasted slot. There aren't many of them, but there are a few characters in this game that don't need to use a projectile ever. So once they see that you have this, they're just never going to throw projectiles at you, and you're never going to get access to the KB. So it almost ends up being like a wasted slot, so that does kind of suck. Outside of that though, I do think that the Quantum Rift is a good projectile parry move, so I'm going to put it in decent picks. I think it's a lot stronger when you have it paired with these other two moves, because it really feels like these three moves were made to be used together, to be honest. It's really a lot better when used with Quantum Slice because you get access to that KB. The only problem is once you start using this, the opponent, they're going to be less keen on throwing projectiles, which you think would be nice. But against certain characters, like against a Cabal or a Liu Kang, where the projectiles are nice to have, but they don't really necessarily need it, they're just going to get in and rush you down, right? And then you end up basically having a wasted slot of a move, in my opinion. But against characters that, really rely on projectiles, like someone like a Scarlet or something like that, this can really shut down a big portion of their game plan by pairing a lot of their incoming projectiles. And I think it fits pretty well in a lot of kits. I just think it works even better when paired with these other two moves, Edenian Force and Quantum Slice. Alright, now we're going to go to one of Rain's best variation moves, in my opinion. That's going to be the Geyser Palm. Now the Geyser Palm, as you can see, he shoots Geyser up in the air diagonally. This move is a really good anti-air. This is going to catch people jumping up in that area above Rain to the the top right of him. And it's also going to allow him to combo off of a string, off of his fastest jab string. So Rain's fastest jab is standing 1, and he has this combo string here. Normally you can't really get anything off that. The Geyser kick isn't going to reach them off that pop-up, but with the Geyser Palm, you can actually combo off this with a bar of meter. So I'm going to show off just a basic Geyser Palm combo, and you're going to see that this actually does quite a bit of damage for Rain. That's 27% off of just landing a jab, right? So you block something, you go for your jab punish, which is 7-frame jab punish, you can get 27, near 28% off of the jab, which is really good damage for Rain. I cannot understate this, guys. If you don't play Rain and you may not understand this, this guy is hitting for like 25% most of the time. The fact he can punish with his jab and get 27% is crazy good for this guy. Also, I don't know if you noticed this, the Geyser Palm is actually like a pretty damaging combo ender. Like, you hit them on the way up, and when they hit the ground, they take an additional amount of damage. So I'll show that same combo off, but I'm going to end it with just the normal combo ender. So as you can see there, I got 25% for ending it with that, as opposed to the Geyser Palm ender, which gave me 27 and 28%. It's a couple extra percent more. You wouldn't think that it matters that much, but over the course of the match, it's going to build up. Also, another thing that cannot be understated is when you land the Geyser Palm, you're right next to them. This leads to some pretty good Oki right here. They are right next to you. They are going to have to decide, are they going to wake up and attack? Are they going to try to jump? You know, they're going to do up 3, up 2. You are right in front of them. You are able to get your Oki game going. You dash up, you do back 2, one of Rain's best mids in the game. And you could go ahead and start applying your pressure. A problem with this move is that it does side switch. So let's go to the corner here. If I have him in the corner, you know, I have my opponent in the corner right here, right? I don't really want to end with Geyser Palm most of the time because now we've switched sides. Now I'm in the corner. So I would say you got to be really careful using this because most of the time you don't want to put Rain in the corner unless you have a get out tool like with the Edenian Force or something like that, right? It is good if you were in the corner. You know, you anti-air someone with the Geyser Palm, you combo them into that, you can swap sides, put them in the corner. But you have to be careful using this. You got to be really aware of where the opponent's going to be after you use that. You want to make sure that you're controlling where the opponent is on the screen, and you don't want to accidentally put yourself in a corner and put yourself in a bad spot. Other than that, I think this move is great though. That's why I'm going to put Geyser Palm in S tier. Honestly, I think this is probably one of his best moves. I think you generally want to have this move on Rain. Probably as his main combo tool, especially if you're trying to like use Rain in competition or like you're really trying to use Rain to his maximum potential. You want to have Geyser Palm. It's going to give him really good damage. It's probably his best combo tool off of his fastest combo starter. And it's also a good combo ender. Now, going to another one of Rain's strongest moves, we're going to be talking about Hydro Boost. Now, Hydro Boost, like Water Ball, is one of Rain's best combo tools in the game. It replaces his Geyser Kick, which kind of is underwhelming in the damage department, with the Hydro Boost, which gives him access to some of his highest damaging combos. All for the cost of only 1 slot. Also, it's really good on block pressure, which I'll show a basic combo off first, and I'll show you some of the block pressure. Go ahead and start with his best combo starter. And that's 30%. Again, if I had the Geyser Kick there, I'd be hitting for like 25%, maybe 27%. And this is a lot easier to land than his optimal Geyser Kick combo. Alright, now I'm going to have Robo block all incoming attacks so I can show you that this move is actually pretty good as block pressure as well. He has to block that, we get going with some more block pressure. And as you can see, he kind of has to hold all that. Now, there is a weakness to this move in that you can actually be flawless blocked on the way down. So like if you get your block pressure going, people can flawless block that. You basically are in the air on the way down, you do your normal jump-ins. People can, and at higher levels, will flawless block you on the way down. So you have to start really thinking about when you want to use the Hydro Boost as block pressure. You know, kind of try to anticipate the flawless block attempt. Maybe mix up your move that you're using on the way down, or even just land empty and try to down 2 someone, you know, going for a flawless block. If they don't do it right, you will get a down 2 KB on them. But I cannot understate how good this move is. It's an amazing combo tool, it's great for block pressure, and it leads to some meterless damage as well. Let me try to show off a meterless version of the Hydro Boost combo. It only works in the corner though. Nice, okay, so you see there, I got a meterless combo off of the Hydro Boost in the corner. That works because of the way that the geysers come out of the ground. If you do them off certain combo strings, you can actually get meterless combos with it. I know I said you can only use it in the corner, but I think there are ways to do it mid-screen. I haven't mastered those yet. Those are like really hard to do, but in the corner it's a little bit easier to do. Now, because of just how great of a tool Hydro Boost is, I'm gonna put this in S tier. Again, at least some of Rain's highest damaging combos. It's pretty good as block pressure as well. It just sucks that it's so much better than the kick because, you know, the kick is one of Rain's iconic moves. You never really get to see it anymore because Hydro Boost is just so much better than it. Alright, the last move in this kit here is the Tidal Wave. So the Tidal Wave is a low move here that you can special cancel into, right? You can even amp it, and it's going to be low mid. And the benefits of this move are on block, it is -8 with pushback. So if an opponent blocks this move, they're not punishing this. Not only that, but Rain has this string here, it's 1-3-4, which ends in an overhead. So you can kind of use this, you know, you do the overhead, you get the low. It's not much, but it is a little bit of a mix that you can use to try to trip up your opponent. You catch someone who's just kind of, you know, they're refusing to block, right? You can keep looping this over and over again, and then, you know, when they start blocking low, you can go for the overhead. having a completely safe special cancelable move for Rain is very important, and it, you know, Rain doesn't have the best frame data in the game, right? He's not super safe all the time. He does have some punishable stuff, especially off of his combo starters, so being able to have that safety net for him to kind of cancel into is very important. For these reasons, I'm going to put Tidal Wave in with the strong picks. I think having something to fall back on to keep himself safe with is very important, and I think not having an option to stay safe on block is going to be bad for Rain. I think you're going to want to have at least one option to do that with. Speaking of staying safe on block, that brings us to our next move. So the next move we have is Hydroplane. Hydroplane is a special cancelable move which brings Rain back. You can hold it, and then it brings him forward. I'll show you the version where you don't hold it. Now, pretty fast, he goes back and comes forward with an attack. The problem is on block, it is -16, as I'll show you here. And even amped is -16. There is a bit of pushback, but it's still -16, and characters can and will punish this on block. It's just hard to do, so you don't see it often, but an easy punish to this would be just Sub-Zero slide reversal, you know? So, you gotta be careful throwing this out. The good thing about it is, though, you can actually hit down to cancel it. So, it does cost a defensive meter, but it can get you out of sticky situations, and you can use this on block to get away from the opponent, especially if they're going to block something you don't want them to block. So I'll show you real quick just some block pressure with the Hydroplane. Something like that. So obviously you wouldn't want to end there with the Hydroplane, but I'm just showing you that you can use it for block pressure to get safe, and you can use it to kind of make opponent swift, and you can go in and get a whiff punish. Something else I should mention is that it does have a KB attached. So, if you hold it long enough, I think he has to, you know, arch back, and you let go of it, you can get a KB there. It's going to cave their chest in, you're going to get 24%. You can also amp this. It increases the range of the move generally, and it makes the KB do a little bit more damage as well as the normal move. So, the KB unamped does 24%, amped 29%. That is pretty decent damage, but I find it is hard to get the KB against opponents unless they're like stuck in a dial-in string or something like that, right? So most of the time, you're going to want to be using this to whiff punish opponents off of like a down one poke or something like that, or to do Hydroplane cancel and then go in for a whiff punish yourself. For all these reasons, I think I'm going to put Hydroplane in decent pick. I think it's a decent alternative to Tidal Wave, but I think having the mix-up options from Tidal Wave being a low, and also just being safe on block, I think that's a lot better for Rain. I think you can use Hydroplane to keep yourself safe, and having the KB is nice, but I think you're going to get more value out of Tidal Wave in the long run. The other move I have on this variation is Purple Pain. Now, Purple Pain, I love this move. It's a really cool setup tool. The problem is it's really just not that great. It's really hard to get value with this move. On its own, you just throw it out. There's a bunch of different ranges you can do. I believe there's close, medium, far, and then very far, right? So you have to manually aim this move. It does have an amp, which will pop the opponent up, and you can get combos with this. I'll just show off like a basic setup that I like to do with this move. So you go ahead and land this part, get it down 2, and you get a little combo like that. That is very satisfying to land. The problem is that's not the easiest thing to land. Also, it is a setup tool, but the opponent can just kind of low block this, and they're just not going to get blown up by it. They just low block this, you're going to be able to block all your pressure. I'll show you real quick. So as you can see, I have him low blocking here. He's completely safe to everything, right? Most of the time, you don't really have enough time to get Rain's overhead out. You might be able to do it in the corner, but if they just low block this, I mean, they're golden. You know, you're going to catch people basically wake up pressing to get this thing to land. But my biggest problem with this move is the 2-slot move. It's hard to set this up normally. You have to drop your combos early to set this up. And even when you do that, it's not guaranteed that the opponent's even going to get hit by it. Sure, they might wake up blocking a little low, and it'll take a little bit of chip damage, but you just wasted, you know, a bar to try to get someone in the amp when they can just block it. There's no threat, you know. You can't overhead low. If this was an overhead, you might be able to set up like a low or something. But the fact that it's mids, they can just block this all day. You know, they're really not in any danger. So I don't know why they made this a 2-slot move. I think if it was a 1-slot move, you could fit it into some other variations better. But as it stands right now, this move is really it's really hard to use, especially at a high level. So for all these reasons, as much as I love this move, I gotta put it lower on the tier list. It's really hard to get value with. It's very fun if you're able to get an opponent to get hit by this move. Basically, the main use of this move is end your combo early and try to catch someone doing anything besides block on wake up. If the opponent is actually gonna just block on wake up, what they're gonna do is gonna block all the mids, they're gonna low block, and you're not gonna be able to open them up. They're gonna be blocked down, but you're really not gonna get a lot of value out of this. You're gonna be using your offensive meter to lock someone down, right? Chip them out a little bit. But it's also a 2-slot move. So you gotta sacrifice either a combo tool like Geyser Palm, or in my opinion, you should probably be using this with something to keep yourself safe, like Tidal Wave. And it really, that's my biggest problem. This is a 2-slot move, and it's not really worth the 2 slots, right? With Water Ball, at least you know if you hit someone, you're going to be able to combo into Water Ball. You're going to get value from this move. With Purple Pain, it's completely up to the opponent, really, if they're going to get hit by the move. So, for that, I'm going to put it in hard to get value. It's fun, don't get me wrong. This is probably my most favorite rain variation to run, but it's just not guaranteed you're going to get value. And at a higher level, especially in like tournaments, you're better off running the meta rain variation. Alright, last we have Wave Dash. Now, Wave Dash is kind of a weird move. You may have never even seen this before if you only play like Combat League or in Tournament. That's because it's banned in competitive modes. You can only use it in casual. So this is basically like a buff that Rain can put on. You can see like there's water around his feet now. And it just, look at the way, it just increases his dash. Look at this. Look how fast he can go now. Like you can, look how fast you can close the distance on someone from full screen. Let me just go ahead and show this real quick. Let me put them full screen. I got my my buff on, and I'm up in their face, right? I'm up in their face in like 1 second. Now compare that to Rain's like normal wave dash. I don't even have the best wavies, but I think that his wave dash is like comparable. If you can master his wave dash, it's kind of comparable to the speed you get from wave dash. Wave dash kind of allows you to get in at a similar speed to being able to normally wave dash with Rain, but it's a lot easier because you could really just, you know, just double tap dash and you're in, right? If you're able to time it right, you can kind of wave dash and while you have the wave dash buff on, and you can get in even faster. But I think if you're able to master the wave dash by itself with Rain, that's also like a viable way to get in, right? Like Rain's wave dash is already one of the best in the game, and I'm not even like a super master at it. I'm pretty good. And if you can just master his normal wave dash, you don't really even need this move, to be honest, because you are just able to get in almost as fast as having the buff on. Something that you may not know about this move is you can actually use it as a combo extension too. You can cancel the startup frames of the wave dash buff with forward or back dash for the cost of 1 defense meter. You can actually extend combos. Let me just show you real quick. As you can see there, I was able to land Rain's optimal combo starter twice in a row in the same combo. It landed for 6 hits. Let me just show you a basic combo with this setup using the wave dash special cancel as a combo extension. So that is pretty nice. For the cost of 1 defense and 1 offense meter, mind you, you can get about 33% with Rain, which is decent damage for him, and after the combo's done, you have the buff on for a few seconds so you can kind of get in or out depending on what you want to do. I think, again, that the wave dash buff is nice, especially, you know, for the movement. You know, the movement, I think that having the back dash is really good because you can like whiff punish people. Don't get me wrong, I think the movement is nice, but I think you can accomplish similar things being able to just wave dash with Rain normally. That being said, like, being able to just put the buff on, right, and then you're out of there, right? Like, that can't be understated. It is very strong, don't get me wrong. But, you know, not being able to use it in competitive play isn't that big of a deal because Rain's wave dash by itself already is really good. His movement is insanely good. To use Rain as maximum potential, you really need to be able to master his movement. And, you know, not being able to put the buff on, you're not missing much in the movement department. I think also being able to combo with the startup of the wave dash is really good. I think that's a very cool tool that I don't really see talked about that much. Granted, you have to use a defense bar, but you know, by the time a normal Rain combo ends, you already have half your defense bar back. So I like the utility of being able to use it as a buff for movement. And while it doesn't straight up give you a damage buff, you can use it to extend combos you normally wouldn't be able to do. So for these reasons, I'm gonna put wave dash in niche uses. It literally is a niche use move, considering the fact that you can't use it in competitive play, you can't use it in tournament. You know, so like by definition, it is a niche move. That being said, it's actually one of the stronger banned moves in the game, I will say that. Like, having access to his insane movement just with the turn of a button is insane. You can get similar results just by using his normal wave dash, but again, it just gets amplified with the buff on. But I think there are stronger moves that you can use with Rain that cover up some of his gaps. Like, movement is generally not an issue for Rain, so you need some other moves to cover some of his faults. Alright, now I'm going to try to actually just order this list and see if I can order it in a way that I think is more accurate to the way I feel about these moves. Alright, I feel pretty good about this list. Going from the top to bottom, we have Geyser Palm and Hydro Boost in S tier. I think those moves are insanely good. If you're running a Rain variation without them, especially Geyser Palm, you're going to be lacking in some capacity, especially in the combo department. In strong picks, we have Tidal Wave, Quantum Slice, Edenian Force. Tidal Wave and Quantum Slice are good options for keeping yourself safe on block. Edenian Force, also a good way to, you know, move around the map, get yourself out of sticky situations, especially in the corner. When paired with Quantum Slice, becomes insanely good. In B, we have the decent picks. We have Quantum Rift, great projectile parry, especially when paired with Quantum Slice. You get access to that KB for high damage. Water Ball, decent move. Biggest problem is it replaces his normal projectile Guitar Toss, which is just such a good projectile for keeping opponents at range. Hydroplane is a good way to keep yourself safe, and it's good to whiff punish people. Riptide, again, it's good for restands, but that's really about the only reason you're going to want to be using that, is to end combos with a restand to keep your opponent from using one of their many defensive options. Wave Dash is in the niche uses. Again, it's literally a niche move. You can't use it in competitive play or tournament play. But even if you could, I think some of the other moves on this list would help serve to fill some of Rain's weaknesses in the game. Then in D tier, it hurts my soul to say it, but we have Purple Pain. Very hard to get value with this move. It's very fun as a setup tool, but like I said earlier, whether or not you hit this move is ultimately going to be up to the opponent. Are they going to block it, or are they going to try to press on Wake Up and they're going to get hit with it? You really have to rely on the opponent to fall into the trap in order to get hits with this move. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tier list. My Rain is not as good as my Fujin. Again, I would consider him probably in my top 4 characters in the game right now. But I think I have enough experience with the character to make decent judgment calls on these moves. If you play Rain and you think some of these moves should be moved around, or maybe there's some hidden tech with some of these moves that I'm not aware of, please let me know in the comments below. Definitely would love to have discussions with you guys about these moves. Most importantly, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something here, and let me know if you guys want me to make more of these. Anyway, peace out, guys, and I'll catch you guys around on the next one.